Again. That's more like all the way through the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Braley. Good evening, everyone. Well, as Carl said, this is my second appearance on the stage here. He gave me my first shot last year in August, and I'm happy to say that tonight is my first paying gig ever. So tonight I am getting the princely sum. Well, I don't want to, I've hit the big time here, guys. I'm getting the princely sum of £10 for 10 minutes. For the mathematicians out there, that is how much? Too much. £1 a minute. I don't like that answer. £1 a minute. That is almost phone sex money. So, what are you guys wearing? Comedy for me is a very personal, intimate thing. Each performance in front of an audience is a little bit like losing your virginity all over again. Except tonight, I'll be disappointing an entire room full of people. Instead of just terrifying my blind grandmother. I probably should have started with this one. My sense of humour is a little bit like a solar eclipse, so you might not necessarily see exactly what's happening to begin with, but then everything gets very dark very quickly. For example, my grandfather had a saying. He was a very practical man, and he used to say to me, Glenn, if you ever really want to understand something, you've got to take it apart and put it back together again. And that really resonated with me, those are words that I've tried to live my life by to this day, but I'm still having a lot of trouble understanding women. So I was at the hospital the other day and I saw a sign on the wall that said thieves operate in this area, and I know that there have been budget cuts, we're not living in the most flush times, but I'm not really happy with a shoplifter giving me a tonsillectomy. Still, I did find out my blood type though, so that's A positive. I used to tell people that my blood type was A positive because I'm A positive type of guy, and that kind of got me thinking. It's a good job that I don't name blood types, otherwise you'd have surgeons in the middle of operations going, I need 4 litres of grumpy twat right now! Love the snort, thank you. So, is anyone in the room a blood donor at all?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic, it's one of the best things that you can do. After you donate blood, they say it normally takes your body about a week to regenerate that litre that you've just given. What the fuck is up with that? There's some serious priority issues going on with the way that our body generates things. The last time that you guys had the flu, how many gallons of snot could you put out in a fucking day? It's disgusting. Speaking of disgusting and perfect segues, what is the difference between what is the difference between ice cream and dead prostitutes? I don't have 7 different kinds of ice cream in my freezer. So when I was a teenager, I tried to learn how to speed read, and I really struggled with it to start off with, until I tried it with a porn mag, and finished in 30 seconds. It amazes me that some people actually take their sex tips from porn. That's like getting the news from Facebook. Thank you, the 3 people that laughed at that one. So if there's one thing that really gets on my tits about Facebook, well, there's not just one thing that gets on my tits, there's fucking hundreds of things that get on my tits and piss me off, and that's part of the reason why I'm up here, because this is a lot cheaper for me than therapy. But if there's one thing that really annoys me about Facebook, it's when you get those pricks that put on the status, tag a mate, and if they don't respond in 20 minutes, they owe you a £5 or a McDonald's. No, they don't. Do you know what they owe you? They owe you a fucking uppercut straight in your teeth. Congratulations. Let me know when you'd like that to be delivered for you. I think technology is fantastic. I love it, but we are very reliant on it. So, let me ask you guys, when was the last time you were out on a break at work, and rather than scrolling through your newsfeed, you actually had a conversation with the people you're out there with? It's amazing the sort of stuff that you can learn about your friends from actually talking to them in real life, face to face, like a human being. One of my workmates told me that he used to play the violin as a child. Well, I think that's what he meant. He just said he was a kiddie fiddler. There's a lot of casual racism around nowadays, and I don't know whether that's part of like Brexit and everything that's happening, but no matter what the cause, it's not something that I'm comfortable with. Personally, I think it was a lot better when they used to dress up in those nice white robes. Because at least then you could tell who they were. Nobody really makes an effort anymore nowadays, and that fucking gets my nerves. And say what you like about paedophiles, but they understand the importance of good grooming. Speaking of good grooming, and the second perfect segue, the other day I was in an interview dressed in my finest, and the guy opposite me on the desk said to me, "How do you perform under pressure?" I was panicked. I had no idea what to say. My mind was totally blank. I just had to play dum 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 da da dum dum. A lot of comedy is about context, so for me to tell you that I have a world's greatest husband mug is not in itself funny. If I was to tell you that that mug has survived 2 divorces to 2 very angry women, that suddenly becomes a lot more entertaining. So I split with my second wife in February last year. I've kind of gotten over it mostly now. Essentially it came down to a difference in beliefs. I believed her when she said she wanted us to get therapy and work out our differences. She believed I was going to find out she was having an affair. That's not compatible beliefs right there. So because of the way that that relationship ended, I did have to go to the STD clinic, and sorry to follow on from you, Mike. But it's a really weird situation to be in, because when you go to the clinic, you're kind of convincing yourself that everything is absolutely fine and there couldn't possibly be anything wrong with you. However, every time you get an itchy sack, you think you've got AIDS and you're going to die. So I attended the clinic, and you go in and you give your blood sample and your urine sample, and as Mike said, you know, you talk to the nurse, she asks you questions, gives you a bag of condoms, and then off you go. You phone back in a week later. Now you don't actually get to speak to another person, because that's far too humanising for you. What you actually do is you phone up, and you punch in the number of shame from your appointment card that they've given you, and then the little STD robot tells you what's happening. So it's like you're getting your Schrodinger's clap results from Stephen Hawking. So it starts off, and your gonorrhea result is negative. It's fantastic, that's what you want, negative is the way forward. So then it rolls through, herpes results, negative, chlamydia results, negative, 3 for 3, everything's looking fucking golden. Comes up to the big one, the one that anybody that's ever been to the clinic knows about, which is the HIV test result. So it starts to read off the results, and the only thing that I can think of is that my phone signal must have died at that moment, because what I heard was, your HIV test result is, goodbye. That was the longest 2.5 minutes of my life as I dialed back through to get to the point and find out that everything was negative and it was all golden. So for a while after my wife and I split up, I was still using her Nectar card when I went shopping, and it annoyed me to start off with that she was getting the points from the money that I was spending, but I was actually playing the long game. So what I actually did was, for a month, I would go in to Sainsbury's every morning. I'd buy 6 cucumbers and a tube of KY jelly. In the evenings I'd return them, so it cost me nothing. After the first week, I was getting some funny looks from the people that were working the morning shift. As I walked past, they'd all... After the second week, I heard them start to whisper. By the end of the month, as I walked past them, they would blatantly say to my face, "Look at that guy, he must have an arsehole like a fucking Pringles can." I didn't care, I persevered. And that is why, to this day, whenever my ex-wife goes into a Sainsbury's, she gets coupons out of the till for cucumbers and KY jelly. And that is how I got Sainsbury's to tell her to go and fuck herself. So I found myself back on the dating scene, and you know, I'm on the apps and the sites and all that crap, and I've not really had much luck, and I'm kind of scratching my head as to why. I think some of it's down to what I've got on my profile. So a lot of them ask you to describe your perfect date, so I've said, my perfect date is a romantic moonlit walk in the woods. I bring a picnic, a blanket, and a bottle of wine. You bring some bin bags and a shovel. I walk out of the woods on my own. I've also decided that, you know, in order to get matches, you know, you've got to look good, you've got to take some effort and focus on yourself. So this might come as a shock to some of you, but I wouldn't say that I'm a fashionista. The closest I've ever come to being metrosexual was the time that I had a wank on the tube. But I fucking love face masks. Face masks are the shit. You're looking at me like you can't believe what you're hearing, but no, seriously, face masks are amazing. They leave your skin feeling so soft that it could be draped over a lampshade in my lounge. And there's so many different ways to enjoy yourself. Like, there's the peel-off ones if you can't get to water, because, again, your skin feels amazing. It's like you're in Mission Impossible. There are the clay ones that you get to put on. They really penetrate the skin and draw all of the oil. And you get to pretend that you're Arnie. Get to the chopper! That was the worst Arnie impression you guys have ever heard. I'm going to own that shit. And finally, the ones that I really love are the very, very dark black charcoal ones that are meant to draw out all of that shit from your nose. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. The great thing about those is they really draw all of that out, and they let you also pretend, whilst you've got that all over your face, that you're a massive racist. So after all of that work, and you finally convince somebody to go out on a date with you, you get to maybe the second date, everything's going well, and that's when the modern world comes back and bites you in the ass one more time. So you leave the restaurant, being the gentleman that you are, you say, "Can I drive you home?" She says yes. You get in the car, you pull away from the curb, and all of the doors automatically lock. Does anyone find that to be a little bit rapey? The only thing you're waiting for there is the update that sprays the chloroform out of the gas vent on the passenger side. One thing I have found on the dating sites is that I tend to encounter a lot of bots. I think this is a uniquely male problem. I don't think that's something that women particularly get. They're quite easy to spot when you've got these bot accounts because the women are so ridiculously photoshopped and airbrushed to perfection, and all of their biographies read like either they're trying to send a coded message to the Nazis, unicorn, upside down, umbrella, anal, or it's just a string of gibberish that sounds like they're trying to summon the fucking devil. I sent somebody a message once that's saying, "I'm really worried that you've had a stroke at your keyboard, what's going on?" So, are there any women in the room that have been on the dating sites? Nobody ever admits it. As I said, I don't think the biggest problem for you guys is bots. The biggest problem for you guys is dick pics, isn't it?
Yes!
That's where it comes down to. You're my new favourite. So, what do you think the female equivalent of a dick pic would be if it existed, which it doesn't because women have some degree of class?
Yeah, no, that's it. We just don't.
But if it did exist, would it be a flap snap? I've got to say, count yourself lucky because at least you only get sent pictures of cocks. That's bad. It's an invasion of your privacy, and it's not the right thing to do. But there are some species of octopus whereby they can actually detach their penis and send it after the female. Could you imagine your life if we could do that? You'd be walking down the road, chatting to your mate. "Oh, should we have a look in Dorothy Perkins and buy some shoes?" And all of a sudden you just hear. And then you go, "It's in my hair! It's in my hair!" You'd be getting Me Too'd from across the other fucking side of the room. Think fast. So that's not to say that I've had no success in the dating front. I was against all evidence to the contrary. I was actually seeing somebody long distance for a while, which was it was going quite well. I met her on holiday. We really hit it off, and we decided to carry on things. We came back to the UK, and I don't know if anyone here has been in a long distance relationship. You try and keep things fresh, even though you're not there with each other. So there's lots of sort of racy messages going backwards and forwards. And one day she sent me this message. Fucking horribly filthy, as you would expect, just about, all of the horrible things she wanted me to do to her and how much she craved my body. And there was a follow-up that said, "You've got no idea how hard it was to send that to you. Sat at a table surrounded by 6 of my work colleagues at this conference." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So I replied back, "Yeah, the last thing you'd want is to accidentally say what you're thinking and look your boss straight in the eye and go, 'I can't wait for you to rattle my fucking tonsils with your hot throbbing fuckstick.'" I didn't get a response to that message for a number of minutes, which started to make me panic. I thought, have I crossed the line here? Is that a little bit too graphic? Is that too much detail? And suddenly my phone pinged. Brought it out and looked at the message. So, I've got this thing on my phone where, when I receive a message, it displays the first 4 lines of that message. My phone was out on the table. 3 of my workmates read that text before I got to it. I'm still not entirely sure why that relationship ended, to be honest with you. But in every relationship breakup, I always personally think about, what has happened in the past and the relationships that have shaped me to be the person I am nowadays. And I've recently been thinking about this girl that I used to go out with. And she used to come out with some like really crazy shit in the bedroom. I mean, any of you guys here know what I'm talking about there, like the really crazy shit, like the world is flat, vaccines cause autism. But one day, she decided to try and sort of push my comfort zone a little bit, and she said to me, you know, today when we have sex, I really want you to pull out, come all over my back and rub it in. No, that was a little bit beyond the pale. I didn't entirely know how to react to that, but you know, I thought, okay, I can fulfil that need if that's what you're after. So we get down to business, and just as I'm about to release the kraken, so to speak, pull out, fucking bullseye it right in the middle of her back. Then as she turns around to look at me, push her over and go, ah, look at you, all covered in my fucking spunk, you twat. She went mental. Apparently that's not what she meant by rubbing it in. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. If you enjoyed this evening, I've got a YouTube channel. It's Glenn Thinks He's Funny. As Carl said, I'm in South Coast Comedian Video Competition this year. Please check me out. Thank you.